Weekend of SEC football awaits us. Another big weekend in college football awaits us simply because when you get to this point in the season, borrowing an SEC motto, it just means more when you get to this point in the college football season. And Drew, since Alabama fans, college football fans have had a chance to completely digest Alabama's loss to Texas A&M. The emotions Sunday, if you followed social media, the emotions Sunday were that the world was going to end because Alabama had lost on Saturday. Then Monday, things, you kind of move on a little bit. Today, we look at it now in a clear view. We look at it in a clear view. We've got a Twitter poll question up there. But we need to get to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline because our fourth grader prognosticator is joining us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. We got to get to him because he has got to get to school on this Wednesday, I believe.
It's a day early, Scott. It's Tuesday.
Oh, but he is. Oh, okay. Okay, well, let's get out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline because Grady is with us this morning. Good morning, Grady.
Good morning.
Morning, Grady. Why change it up? You decided to do that because Alabama did not perform that well?
Yes.
Okay. Now it's a Tuesday with Grady the Greek.
All right, bud. What's on your mind today?
Last week was bad. I mean bad. This week, hopefully, they can win because I will be at the game.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Hey, Grady, is this the first game you've gone to?
No, sir.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I know your father goes to the games. I just didn't know if you'd had a chance to go or not. So you're going this week, though.
Yes.
All right, Grady, what's your feeling? Bama, Mississippi State.
You're going on the road. What are you thinking about a road game, Grady?
Alabama 40, Mississippi State 20, MVP, B-Rob.
Oh.
Buddy, you sound down. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Is it fall break this week, too?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And you're up early. That's great.
All right. Are we picking one or are we picking two games this week?
Just one.
Okay. Man. You
did
buddy,
you did it at the Georgia game, though.
Oh, worry about you, buddy. You just sound like you are still down about the loss.
I'm tired.
Okay.
I can see it, Grady. Enjoy your fall break.
Yes, enjoy your fall break. Go back, get some rest.
Oh, now, wait a minute now. Before you go, okay, give us an update. How did flag football go last week?
We lost.
Oh,
Okay.
See, that was a bad omen. And so they got to bounce back there, too. So, and now do you have any shout-outs?
Shout out to my sister.
All right, there we go. Shout out to the sister. That's 2 weeks in a row, so your sister's getting the good shout-outs.
Thanks, Grady.
Yes.
All right, Grady the Greek. Thanks, Grady. Enjoy it.
Starkville.
Yep, and get some rest, bud. Go back. You can go back to sleep now.
Okay.
All right, Grady the Greek joining us
on a
Tuesday because I imagine he has got fall break plans, and so we wanted to make sure we got him because
40-20. He only picked one game. 40-20 Alabama on the road. B-Rob MVP is Grady the Greek's pick this week.
All right, let's get out. Let's stay on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Ryan's with us this morning. Good morning, Ryan.
Hey, guys. It's always good to hear him. It takes away a lot of the real-world stresses to hear that. So it's always good. So, big Alabama fan here. Obviously, I know you guys are. I can only imagine the pulsating jugular veins that you guys had when that game ended. Now, we have to be perfect here and out to get in. That's obvious. Now, one thing that I do have to point out, I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I have a lot of Auburn fans, and we go back and forth all the time. That's how it is on a lot of people's feeds. So here we are again, 2021. Auburn is out of contention, and just like multiple iterations over the past 10 years, what is their primary motivator going towards the end of the season if they're not getting in the playoffs? It's to dash Alabama's hopes. I mean, at some point, does that not have to end and you have to actually get in the playoffs? If they don't make it this year, which they're not, is Brian Harson going to get fired?
No, Brian Harson's not going to get fired this year.
No, I mean, there'd have to be something just outrageous happen for Auburn to make a move after 1 year.
Yeah, and you got to look at it too. And I think what we're seeing a lot of it from Auburn right now is the fact that when Gus Malzahn was there, yes, he recruited well, but Gus Malzahn did not recruit well along the offensive line. Gus Malzahn did not recruit well for wide receivers. There's not a lot of talent in a lot of those key positions for Auburn.
Yeah. So is Brian Harson recruiting well for them on OT? Or I don't track them that well, so.
I have not seen.
They're trying. I mean, they're efforting. Let's put it that way. They certainly are going after offensive and defensive linemen. I mean, Brian Harson understands they have to get better up front and get deeper because they just don't have enough dudes, man. I mean, and that's why they lost to Georgia. It's not because they didn't play hard. It's not because they didn't compete. It's not because they weren't ready.
Yeah.
They just didn't have good enough players. And then right now, their wide receiver core is a shambles because basically every other pass seems to hit them in the face. So, I mean, you have to make plays.
So wasn't this Saban's only won it all twice, undefeated, so there's a lot of precedence for getting in with one loss. I believe that was, 2009 and then last year.
Correct.
So it's not a death blow, but as a spoiled fan base, which we have to admit we are, sometimes this is necessary to, even for the players to just build back up stronger. But this year, I'll be honest, Georgia's a little spooky this year, So
well, they are very, 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 very good, elite, whatever you want to say on defense. Offensively, they're stuck in 2008. I still don't think their offense is any great shakes, but that is what that is.
Yeah. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ron.
All right, thanks. All right, so our Twitter question that we have up there, and Ryan just kind of alluded to it a little bit, one loss, is where do you see now that it's been 48 hours, I mean, you've had Sunday Alabama fans to express your whatever you wanted to express on how you felt about the game. Then you have Monday to, I don't know, talk about it amongst whoever. Today, though, the Twitter question is, how do you see this one playing out for Alabama? 1, losing in the SEC title game. 2, short in the semifinals, making it all the way to the playoffs, falling in the semifinals, or winning a national championship. Because this year in college football right now, I mean, Georgia is the best team at this point, but Georgia has holes. They have a few holes. They may not have many, but they have a few holes out there. Their offense is not copacetic on 100% levels. So, Alabama fans, that's the question, 256-576-4977. How do you see this one playing out? Losing in the SEC title game, short in the semifinals, and winning a national title. And we were talking just a little bit there about Auburn trying to get some horses, Drew. Right now, they're 40th in the 24/7 composite rankings as far as recruiting classes go this year. Behind such classes as Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Kentucky, Arkansas, Missouri. They're near the bottom of the SEC right now as far as recruiting rankings go for the 2022 class.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a long way to go.
Right.
I mean, that pendulum can swing, quickly in either direction. And I think if Auburn can string some wins together, then it's going to swing upward. They had a lot of really good players on campus for the Georgia game, no doubt about that. If you follow Keith Niebuhr on Twitter, and we need to catch up with him this week, no doubt about it. And they got a commitment, Mike Bobo's son, Drew Bobo, an offensive lineman at Auburn High School playing for Keith Etheridge. He committed to the Tigers. No surprise there. I mean, his father's the OC at Auburn, but Auburn needs offensive linemen. They need to continue to add to the line of scrimmage, so he was a nice piece. Alabama just recently got the number 1 tight end in the country at the end of last week, Jaleel Skinner. We're going to talk to John Garcia about that in just a few minutes from Sports Illustrated. He's going to come on and educate us on those young people. But, so there's a lot going on, and then it'll be interesting to see how Auburn also attacks the transfer portal. And remember, teams can oversign this year. They can go up to 32 guys. So, I mean, when you change coaching staffs and completely change what you're doing, and Auburn's been a team doing that, I think there's no doubt they're going to be super aggressive during the offseason and trying to retool this team. They were pretty aggressive. Retooling the defense, especially from a secondary standpoint, bringing in Tony Farr on the defensive line this past offseason. But, again, Harson had a smaller window because of when he was hired. Now you're going to have a complete offseason in order to get pieces in place. So, again, what Auburn needs to do is get some wins, and it needs to start, on Saturday in Fayetteville. But that's not going to be easy against Arkansas.
All right, so let's go out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline this morning. Jason's with us. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, Jason.
Hey, good morning, fellas. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Sir.
Hey, I'm a little bit disturbed on what is this. I know the normal Alabama fan who's got an IQ above 70 is not ready to fire Nick Saban and run him off, but some of them are just crazy. They act like Nick Saban forgot what he was doing because he lost one ball game.
Well, you're always going to have, fringe fans like that jump off the river bridge. I mean, I've had interactions with some, and I've had people DMing me and talking about some of the current players and how they don't like some of the current guys. And again, there's no utopias, and everybody misses in recruiting. They want to know why freshmen aren't playing and things of that nature, but sometimes it's on those young people. They haven't matured enough yet. They haven't learned how to practice. They don't do things the right way, and so you can't let the inmates run the asylum. I think a lot of that's kind of going on somewhere called Red Stick, and that's why they've imploded, and they're probably headed for a losing season themselves unless things dramatically turn in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and the people who's talking about why the freshmen are not playing, they don't know much about football, because I've always heard the number of freshmen that you have on the field is the number of games that you'll lose during the year. Just because they was a high school All-American or a 5-star in high school doesn't mean they're going to be able to step on the college football field. They don't have the weight training that the other players have.
No. I mean, it's rare. I mean, if you have a freshman that steps onto the field, then, I mean, they're usually advanced as far as their body goes, their talent level goes. I mean, it's rare that you get a freshman that comes in and can contribute 100% to your football team, because you're right. They've got to go through the weight training. They've got to go through the adjustment of speed from the high school game to the college game. And I think a lot of that, though, Drew, has helped. And the reason why we do see more freshmen, we don't see a ton of them, but we see more freshmen because they early enroll in December. And so they're able to go through spring practice to get a little bit of that acclimation period over with.
Yeah, I mean, what's the famous word down there? The process?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and now they don't believe in the process no more, that these 5-star freshmen supposed to be on the field. You put 23 out there, and that 23 guys down has been there 3 or 4 years.
Well, there's some people that just need to get a life, though, too.
Yeah. Y'all have a good morning.
Thank you, Jason. There's a lot of people that, need reading comprehension, and they can't really, or a hearing aid or something because they don't understand what they hear or read.
Yeah.
And so that happens quite a bit.
Well, one of the things that a lot of people were talking about, and it was one of the biggest points, is why was Alabama not running the ball more down near the goal line? The play calling of Bill O'Brien. That was one of the big conversations over the last 2 days. Nick Saban addressing some things yesterday.
I don't know that there's a good answer to that. I don't know if we, challenged them running it as much as maybe we could. And that's one of the things that I think we need to work on trying to improve on.
Short and succinct. I mean, it's basically the point we've been saying. I mean, I think they should have run the ball more on the goal line, especially in that sequence where it was 1st and 4. But I've said it many, many times. The drive should have already ended in a touchdown. Cameron Latou dropped the football. Okay? If you catch the ball, you're not even having the conversation. But it doesn't take away from the fact that, first down, or they had the ball to go on the 1 yard line. I believe it was 3rd and goal at the 1, and they threw it and threw an interception. Of course, I think Jaleel Billingsley ran a bad route and didn't get the separation he needed, but it wasn't a great throw from Bryce either.
That's what Nick said yesterday.
But I think that, honestly, on that play, I would have loaded up in the heavy package, which, yes, shutdown man, I know what the heavy package is, you moron.
Whoa, what's that about?
He basically called into the drive yesterday, and we had a good conversation. Then he does what he does and says, well, Drew DeArmond doesn't know what the jumbo package is. Yes, I know what it is. In the past, they've put a couple of defensive linemen like a John Allen, a Daron Payne, even a Terrence Cody at fullback in the past. And they put DLs in there and load them up as tight ends or fullbacks,
right,
and they run the ball in. They haven't done that this year, but this year's package, as I told him yesterday, has been a lot of 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends. It's been, Cameron Latou, Kendall Randolph, and then they'll put Robbie Oots at fullback, who's also an extra tight end, and they've run the ball well. And I think they did that a lot against Ole Miss. I think they should have done that on a couple of occasions this past Saturday, in my opinion, but they didn't do it. But again, if they don't drop the football, it's not, you're not even having the conversation. So I think the play calling with Bill O'Brien is completely overblown. I think that you could question it in every game. I certainly have questioned, some play calls by, Lane Kiffin in the past quite a bit. There was even a couple times last year with Steve Sarkisian. You can do that a lot.
Right.
But I just think the execution wasn't as good. But then when you hear Nick Saban say it as well, they're going to work on that and self-scout it. And then people saying that Bill O'Brien should be fired because he didn't, run short. I mean, are you kidding me? Because you disagree with a few play calls, he should be fired. Calm down. I mean, that's completely ludicrous. And so, I mean, I do think that Alabama knows they've got some things to fix. There's no doubt about that. But again, and then you have to tell the truth. Like I basically said, I think the weakest link right now is Chris Owens at right tackle, and they need to think about a personnel change there. And I think that, and I'm hearing that from people that I trust. And I think I'm not saying Owens is not trying hard and that he's out there dogging it. He's not. He just isn't equipped to be an elite right tackle. And right now, of course, they've got some younger guys like a J.C. Latham, but I think he's been practicing more at guard. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a Damian George who they may not think's ready at offensive tackle. Even a program as deep as Alabama may not have somebody ready yet to play that position. So you have to understand it. But I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. And I think a lot of people see that. And, again, Owens –
wasn't that one of the big conversations, though, was how this offensive line was going to mature at the beginning of the year?
Well, yeah, you have to get better. But, I mean, I think they took some steps forward against Ole Miss, but then they got exposed. But let's not misunderstand something. People are kind of getting this all lost in the wash, and Olin Buchanan kind of mentioned it yesterday. There's a lot of pros on that team at Texas A&M, especially on their defensive front, and that's where you kind of get exposed when you're playing against elite-level competition. And Owens got exposed. He still competed hard. He just, he doesn't deal well with speed rushers. And then if you're going to leave him out there, I think they need to go with a tight end like a Kendall Randolph or a Latou and help him out.
Right.
Chip the guy, give him some help if you're going to. I think that's what they need to do, But that's just my opinion, and I'm not going to be afraid to give it. I mean, there's a lot of, yahoos, especially on places like Tighter Insider, like this dude LFB, who's a coward who wouldn't have the guts to say anything to call into my face because he's a joke. But I mean, you want to throw people's picture up and make fun of people. But hey, man, I'm right here. I'm not hard to find. And but there's a lot of guys that wouldn't know a football if it hit him in the face, and he's one of them.
Oh, let's get our first break in, because when we come back, we're going to talk some football recruiting. Does Alabama have some offensive line help coming in? Does Brian Harson have some help coming in? Let's get to the best. John Garcia Jr. will help us sort it all out when we return.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Our Zone deal this week is truly an award winner. Metro Diner, serving up signature dishes like their Charleston shrimp and grits, famous fried chicken and waffles with strawberry butter, and lots more. Their entire menu is available anytime, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And stop by for brunch on Saturday or Sunday and enjoy the lowest priced mimosas in town. Airport Road, Huntsville, and Highway 72 in Madison. Right now, you can get $50 worth of great Metro Diner food for half price, just $25 with our Zone deal. Just log on 977ESPN.com to get yours.
Mercury Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, Mercury Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
Tom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Drinking coffee straight from the pot. Power move. Wearing a bathrobe to work. Power move. Switching to super fast, extra reliable internet from WOW. Power move. Switch and save with WOW Internet for just $19.99 a month. It's switching season, so make a move with our best deal of the year. For a limited time, get Internet 100 with no contracts for just $19.99 a month. Plus, get a 2-year price lock and the first month free. Make the switch at WowA.com today.
Wow.
Limited to new customers with autopay and paperless billing. Offer subject to change. Restrictions and terms apply.
Got a stall-loaded tractor trailer in the middle of that detour from I-65 at Priceville. That one's right at the I-65 overpass on Highway 67 in the left lane there. They've called for a big wrecker. Got Jordan and Maston Lake. An accident with no injuries should clear pretty quick. Everything else looks pretty good this morning. You be careful on that trip in. Do your methods to lose weight no longer work for you? Odds are your hormones are the problem. Find out with a free quiz at 2030 Huntsville. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Roll Tide! Roll Tide!
The journey for 19 begins this year. This is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and we'll bring all the action to you right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Join us this afternoon from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to Talkin Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
And indeed. Welcome back to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. 69 degrees on this Tuesday morning.
Lovely weather.
Lovely weather, unless you're freezing. It's 69 outside. It feels like it's 49 in here right now. But anyway, college football recruiting never stops, 365 days a year. And now it's a little more intriguing. I'm going to say a little more intriguing because you can put 32 guys in that class.
Yeah, you can. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to mean our next guest is going to have even more storylines to follow in December on into February, and the transfer portal is also going to be a big part of that. He's the director of recruiting for Sports Illustrated, one of the best minds out there when it comes to breaking down the decisions of these young men. He has connections all over the Southeast and the United States, and he's been really one of the best in the business now for over a decade, and he's been able to join us frequently and will join us once again this morning on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, and that is our good friend John Garcia. John, it's great to speak with you again here in Huntsville. Good morning. You're with Drew and Scott. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. I'm doing well. Always good to be on with you. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a grinder. You work at this, and that's what you have to do when it comes to covering recruiting. Certainly, I've covered it in the past on a day-to-day basis, and things always change. But there's been some storylines in the last few days when it comes to Alabama and Auburn, and we wanted to bring you into the conversation. And first, wanted to start, obviously, with the big news at the end of last week. Alabama gets a commitment from arguably the top tight end in the country. I know you're very familiar with the IMG football program in your native state of Florida. Let our listeners know about Jaleel Skinner and what he brings to the table for Alabama.
Well, Jaleel brings a lot. He's the number one tight end for us at SI. He's the third number one that Alabama has landed already in this class of 2022, joining Elijah Pritchett as well as Jeremiah Alexander at their respective positions. And Skinner brings a modern and unique skill set. Legitimately 6'5", 6'6", pretty lean still. He's 225, 230 pounds or so. But he just looks like Kyle Pitts, and I'm talking about his body, right? His skill set is still developing, but some of those similarities going back to when Kyle was in high school do line up. Jaleel plays outside more than inside, and at IMG he's moved around a ton, but we still see him lined up a lot at a traditional wide receiver position, and he's giving defensive backs fits despite that immense size. So this is a pure pass catcher, a reception-first type of tight end who could stretch you vertically, but he could also run routes and make plays in that intermediate level like a traditional tight end. So I think when you look at Skinner versus the other tight ends committed to Alabama right now, Elijah Brown, Amari Niblack, they all have very different skill sets that complement one another. Skinner, your fade ball, split them out, get him the ball in 3rd and 6 kind of guy. Elijah Brown is your balanced, maybe classic tight end. And then Niblack's just the jack of all trades. He's just a big physical athlete who could do a bit of everything, probably the best blocker of the bunch. So they all have to kind of look at each other to see what they need to improve upon, and that's what you want to do in building any positional room. But Skinner obviously is the cherry on top.
And it's clear that Alabama, what we're seeing right now, especially from this year, really incorporating that tight end into the offense. And you mentioned different types of tight ends. They use different types of tight ends in this offense every week.
Absolutely. You need that now. We used to talk about that at running back, right? You had your Thunder and Lightning for most schools. That was kind of the conventional plan. Let's get a big physical running back, and let's get a flasher who can maybe be the third down back. But now we're seeing that at every position because of how wide and spread out the game of football has become. And like you said, Alabama's been doing it with Cam Latu and Jaleel Billingsley this year. Latu, your more inline conventional tight end, and Billingsley, the guy you move around the formation, who could obviously get vertical and challenge a defense, deeper than a conventional tight end would suggest. And I think Bama has some of those same elements in these three guys committed right now. It's just a must to have this in your arsenal. It's like on defense, you need versatile defensive backs who can do a little bit of everything. You're starting to see similar for tight ends, and when you can split them out like you can with some of these Bama commits, it really stresses the defense in terms of their alignment, in terms of their responsibility. It really is kind of a strong chess piece within an offense. So when you have more than one, it only maximizes that.
And John, with the latest commitment of from this young man and Jaleel Skinner, when you compare him, and I know Nick Saban can't stand comparisons, but that's what you do in your business. Do you compare Jaleel Skinner to someone like a Jaleel Billingsley at Alabama? What kind of, as he projects to the Crimson Tide roster, where does he? Is he an O.J. Howard? What do you who do you compare him to?
I think he's probably a little bit closer to Howard in terms of his build. Mm-hmm. But I do think he's more built for the modern era he's really a receiver. He doesn't play a lot of inline tight end. He's not the most polished blocker. He's not the biggest kid today. So he's one that I'm very curious to see how his body progresses once he gets into that SEC weight room, once he gets into that SEC nutritional program, because it can kind of go either way. He can be the gadget wide receiver, jumbo wide receiver type, or he can develop into a balanced guy like we saw with O.J. Howard when he got there, was much more of a longer, leaner type of prospect. So I think body-wise, he's a little bit more O.J. Howard. I don't know if he's as fast as O.J., but I do think he's got this modern game that does reflect Billingsley a little bit more in terms of lining up as a wing, lining up in line, going in motion, playing split out. I think he's a bit more built to do that as a freshman as opposed to O.J., who was really a conventional tight end throughout high school because we hadn't really seen that shift at that position just yet.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, and that's a great point. And remember, O.J. had a huge jump to make because he played at an AISA school, so it took him a couple of years to really get comfortable on the SEC level. But when he did, he became a first-round pick, no question about that. Now to kind of switch gears, Drew Bobo commits to Auburn. I think we saw this one coming, John, but the Brian Harson staff really trying to hit the lines of scrimmage hard as they try to fortify their program because they're not really deep on the O-line right now. Need to get better there, especially at offensive tackle. But Drew Bobo, I believe he transitions or projects into the interior. But talk about adding him, of course, his father being a part of that staff.
Yeah, and I think anytime a son of a coach commits, there's always kind of okay, like we expected that. And it creates a lower expectation because of that connection. But Drew Bobo on his own is an SEC lineman. And I think, that can't be overstated in looking at what Auburn needs. Like you just said, Drew, I mean, O-line recruiting has been maybe the biggest issue on that roster over the last, 5+ years. So I think they're going to address that in this class of 2022. And luckily for Auburn, there's a lot of local prospects who could fit that bill, but there's no doubt that Drew Bobo was the most likely addition within that group. And I think, like you said, he's got a versatile skill set, plays tackle right now at Auburn High, probably shifts inside at Auburn University. He's got a great frame at, 6'5 plus. He's right around that 300-pound mark, and he's got a lot of nasty in his game. You almost forget that he's the son of an offensive coordinator watching him play because he's got that kind of classic nasty chip on your shoulder to him, which may not reflect, his upbringing the same way. So I think there's a lot to like with Drew Bobo. And that same thing we said about tight end. The more you can do on the offensive line, the more value you have. And I think he could play at least 3 positions, both guard spots and right tackle now. Okay. And maybe he develops as a center down the line. That's not something that would be far-fetched given his relationship to his father. So I think that you can't have enough glue guys, movable pieces on that offensive line. So Drew Bobo is a fantastic starter for this Auburn roster. And like I said, they're going to hit the O-line position very hard the rest of the way. And his teammate is the top prospect, right? Easton Harris.
Yes.
The left tackle at Auburn High School is one that they would absolutely love to lock in, and it looks like he's going to be making a decision a little bit sooner than we expected, and the sooner the better if you're an Auburn Tigers fan.
Gus Malzahn didn't leave Brian Harson a lot in that cupboard as far as recruits go, especially along the wide receiver position as well. It's been a position that has been a position of weakness clearly this year for Auburn. What does Auburn look like as far as getting someone in there that can catch the football?
Yeah, I think you undersold that a little bit. It is very bare at this point for War Eagle. But I do like some of the guys they have coming in. Big time tight end coming in. Michael Riley Ducker out of Nebraska, 6'6", 240. One of my favorite tight ends to watch on tape this year. He looks like a conventional guy who could block, but very comfortable down the field as a pass catcher. I think that's a big deal. Jay Fair is a speedy receiver from Texas, already verbally committed. And I recently saw Omari Kelly, the in-state receiver commitment from Hewitt-Trussville, really liked him. Longer than I thought. He's listed at, 6'6" maybe, but he's so long that he looks bigger when you see him in person. I mean, even lining up against Traquan Fagans, who's one of the taller DBs in the state, Kelly looks considerably longer than he did, and it was a great battle all night long. Kelly ended up scoring the first touchdown that Thompson High School had given up all year a couple weeks back, and he did it on a slant where he caught it and made guys miss and outran the rest of the secondary. So there's a lot to like with the group that Auburn already has assembled, but more than 3 pass catchers will be brought into this class. So obviously it's something to keep an eye on going forward, but I think you've got a nice versatile group coming in. You got a big tight end who could block and catch. You've got a speedy receiver from Texas who's your over-the-top vertical threat. And then you've got your big physical possession receiver who can do a couple things after the catch as well. So I think it's a good foundation for Auburn. I do think that they need to add to the class as quickly as possible. And they're in the running for some other big-time receivers as well. So I think, in the next couple of months we're gonna see that class round out nicely.
And John, a couple more thoughts from you. You mentioned Easton Harris from Auburn. I know he impressed Alabama and Auburn this summer with his workouts. He's a transfer from Beauregard to Auburn High School, but is Auburn in the driver's seat right now for a guy that probably does project out to that left tackle spot and would be a big piece for them?
They are, Drew. Like you said, this summer was really big for Harris. And remember, this is his second year playing offensive tackle. He was a D lineman early in his high school career, moved over to O-line at Beauregard as a junior, and everybody's like, wait, who is this kid? And he validated a lot of that flash at camps this summer and working with some of these coaches one-on-one. And he impressed basically everybody that he worked out for. And we saw some of those workouts, and we were impressed as well. I mean, he's one of our top tackles in the country, despite having probably the least amount of experience playing O-line in America. But that D-line mentality translates, right? Not only with your athleticism, and Harris is plenty athletic and light on his feet, but in the mentality of getting into the opponent, burying the opponent, kind of executing through the whistle. And I think that translates very well to the offensive line. So the good news is that he wants to make a decision relatively soon. And with Alabama, Florida State, some of the others, there's been a bit of a fluctuation because of other targets on their list. And as we mentioned, Bama recently landed the #1 offensive tackle recruit in the country in Elijah Pritchett. So naturally, it leans other guys elsewhere. So if Harris sticks to that timeline where he wants to make a decision a little bit sooner, I think that's great news for the Tigers. And after all the craziness at Auburn High School, AU could end up with 2 Auburn High Schools or 3 Auburn High School Tigers in this class after missing on some high-profile local targets years prior. So I think all of that would be very good news for Auburn, even without Harris. Getting Powell Gordon, who's been committed for a while, and obviously Bobo, who just committed, that would be very good mojo or juice, as they say, at the local school, which really hadn't been there in a long time, dating back to Reuben Foster, Rashawn Evans, even Muhammad Diabate, all guys who had Auburn offers, were high-profile targets who ended up elsewhere. So big bounce-back year locally for Auburn, which is something that obviously those fans have clamored for a long time.
And you just brought up his name. You said he matched up with Omari Kelly. Traquan Fagans from Thompson, transfer from Oxford High School. He has now reopened his recruitment. He was committed to the Miami Hurricanes. What do you think is next for Traquan, and what is your opinion of him?
Yeah, I think Traquan made a decision that some people expected, not only because of the schools chasing him before he picked Miami, but because of what's gone on down in Coral Gables as well. A lot of question marks with that coaching staff, understandably so, given what's happened on the field. So Traquan backs off of the commitment, and I think he takes his time, Drew. I think he really extends this thing closer to signing day, December 15th, which gives him about 2 months to take some visits and kind of reset all things in the pursuit. Now, before he committed to Miami, South Carolina was kind of the number 2 school. That was the school that I thought did the best job of giving him an entire package, and he really was close to committing to the Gamecocks over Miami initially. So I think they will stay in the race, but the 2 programs who are really controlling it are going to be the in-state Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs, because they were involved periodically before Fagans made that commitment. Did either school press at the right time? Probably not. I think Georgia had the best opportunity early to land Fagans. They slowed down a little bit, and he moved on. So you wonder if they get back into the conversation. We know Alabama has remained in contact basically the entire time that Fagans had been committed to Miami. So at the end of the day, it could be an all-SEC battle between Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. But as the dates progress, if he sticks to that later timeline and takes the entirety of the process, I think it comes down to the Crimson Tide and the Bulldogs, like we see so many recruitments in the state of Alabama as well as in the state of Georgia.
Great stuff from John Garcia, as always, Director of Recruiting for Sports Illustrated and SI 99. Let everybody know how to connect with you, man, and we really appreciate your time. I know it's always busy for you this time of year, but we always enjoy the knowledge and talking recruiting with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise, fellas. Signing day just about 2 months away, so we're definitely busy. Got a lot of stories up on that front right now at SIAllamerican.com. A lot of big decisions starting today in the country, so it's going to be a busy week on the football front. So check us out. It's all free, SIAllamerican.com.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Take care, guys.
All right, John Garcia Jr. with us on a Tuesday morning. Let's get to break. When we come back, Ed Orgeron facing the heat, facing the questions yesterday, facing the questions this morning. His answers.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Tom Luganbill here for Woody Anderson Ford. When I was in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things that impressed me the most was the quality of the people. People like Bobby White and his team at Woody Anderson Ford. And now you can experience the tremendous new service lanes and showroom at Woody Anderson Ford, at Jordan and Sparkman, or just stop by for breakfast or lunch at Henry's Mustang Cafe. And in Madison, visit Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, just south of 72. Like a great college football tradition, always there, Woody Anderson Ford.
Organizations using Salesforce know how powerful the platform is and how much time, money, and headaches it saves if it's set up right and you know how to use it. Let's face it, Salesforce is complicated and time-consuming to figure out, and a lot can go wrong now and down the road without expert help. That's why most Salesforce users work with an implementation partner like Higher Echelon, so they get the absolute most out of their Salesforce investment. Higher Echelon is a 5-star Salesforce consulting partner who won Salesforce Military Hiring Partner of the Year. President Dr. Joe Ross is retired Army who played and later coached coached for the cadets. He puts that experience to good use at Higher Echelon, where they pride themselves on hiring veterans. Look, not all Salesforce partners are the same. Don't put your company at risk by going with an inferior partner. Higher Echelon is the trusted partner you can count on to get you up and running and seeing returns on your Salesforce investment in a fraction of the time it would take if you go it alone. Go to higherechelon.com. That's HIGHERECHELON.com to learn more. Go higher and go Army. When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
And a couple of wrecks that we're clearing, northbound Jordan at Maston Lake and southbound 53 at Research Park. Both of those should be gone. I-65 northbound at 318, that's Lakon. They're taking all the traffic off there. Passenger vehicles can get back on at Falkville. Commercial vehicles have to come all the way up to 67 and go to Priceville. When you get there, you're going to find a tractor trailer on the southbound side of 67 right at I-65. Left lane's blocked up by that stall vehicle. They've got a wrecker on the way. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the heart doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
I'm on vacation every single day because I love my occupation.
All right, hey, we're back. 69 degrees on a Tuesday morning. And there's no doubt that Ed Orgeron loves his occupation. There's no doubt that he loves being on vacation. There's no doubt that
permanent vacation?
Ed Orgeron's occupation may put him on permanent vacation. Because he is under the fire. Now, this morning, he was on a radio show just a little bit ago, and he reiterated what he said yesterday to the media as far as about his future goes. So what did he say? Here is what Orgeron said yesterday about his future.
No, not at all. No, that's for me to handle. And nobody's told me about my job status, so I haven't had any discussion about it. As far as I know, I'm the head coach of the LSU Tigers today. That's all that matters.
Is that the best and only way you can approach it?
No, not really, man. You can go in there and I can read everything you guys could write. I can take about an hour and read all that stuff and then go tell them about it. But I don't listen to all that stuff. You know, the best thing for me to do is be very positive, understand the expectation of LSU. I will say this and I will say it again. No one has to tell me about the LSU expectations. I know them. I was born with them, so I understand. I understand this is not the LSU standard performance. I understand my job. I get it totally. I know exactly where I'm at, and I'm going to go to work as hard as I can today, and don't blink. I promise you, I will not blink for anyone.
That's Ed Orgeron on his expectations. Now, he did go on to say in the press conference that they will be without Kayshon Boutte.
Yeah, that's terrible. awful.
And others on Saturday because of injuries and everything. So he's starting to list all the guys that are out for injuries and starting to list all of these out. And, of course, Derek Stingley Jr. has not played in 2-3 weeks and may not see him again in a Tiger uniform.
I haven't seen him make a play since he was a freshman, man. So it's been a lot of hype and not a lot of production. And he is hurt. He obviously had a foot situation. I don't know how serious the injury was, but there's been speculation about that. But certainly he has not played, and I would be surprised, honestly, the way the season's going, if he is back at LSU. And now Keyshawn Butte, prayers up to him. I mean, what a great year he was still having, even through all this just chaos.
Yes.
And he had a great year last year, and he tears his Achilles going up for it, and making a great catch, by the way, against Kentucky on the sideline, and he tears his Achilles. And so he's out for the rest of the season, and that's just terrible. I mean, one of the best wide receivers, not just in the SEC, but in the country, and now LSU's without him as well.
And they're a 10-point underdog
at home
against Florida this weekend.
At 11 o'clock in the morning. Brunch in Baton Rouge. And a lot of times brunch is not their favorite thing. They'd rather be playing at night. So it's only going to get tougher from here. The way this season is unfolded, I don't even know if they're going to have a winning record at this point in time. I mean, with the way the schedule – I mean, if A&M has figured some stuff out, you got A&M at the end of the season. You still got Alabama. You still got Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's not going to have he's not going to have any mercy on Ed O, especially if he's thinking about going there. I mean,
we thought LSU would be the third best team in the West.
Well, I thought they might even be second. So this was a complete throw up. I mean, they just have completely imploded. And so I thought they would find a way because I thought they had talent. I certainly didn't think their offensive line would be this horrendous, but I got to give Wes Neighbors credit. He's talked about it for 2 years that their offensive line was terrible, and it hasn't gotten any better. And then you lose Derek Rosenthal to Kentucky. He's over there helping his team rush for 300-plus yards, on LSU. So it's just not been good, man. I mean, there's not a good vibe around that program, and I think they've given up on Coach O as far as the players playing hard, and that's why because I thought they would come together and play hard and find a way to win at Kentucky, and that was an abomination.
Yeah, they lacked everything in that one.
Ran them over and and trucked them and played exceptionally well, and now the Wildcats are undefeated and playing unbeaten Georgia in Athens on Saturday.
All right, Spencer's with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Good morning, Spencer.
Morning.
Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Drew. Yeah, I just don't get it about Ed Orgeron, man. In 2019, it seems like the team rallied around him. It seems like they wanted to play for him. In the second half of 2020, it seemed like they rallied again in order to even make it to 500, and they looked like they were on the up and up. And now it don't even look like anybody wants to play for the guy. They just give up completely out there in the field. I don't even know. Are they actually going to practice, or are they just sitting on the sideline drinking hand grenades?
It's winning, Spencer. Winning hides a lot of issues and a lot of problems. And when you're on top of the world and you're winning, it's easy to say, "Hey, I'm going to go play for this guy. I love it. I love it. I love it." But as soon as the crap hits the fan or the ceiling, it's easy just to give up because winning hides a lot of issues.
Man, well, Scott, I got something to ask you, speaking of winning, man. How about them Iowa Hawkeyes, dude? Are they for real? Who is the next big road test for the Iowa Hawkeyes?
Look, Iowa's schedule right now is very favorable for them to win out.
They don't play Ohio State, right?
No, they have Wisconsin, Nebraska, Minnesota, Illinois, and Northwestern, I think, are their remaining games. Very, very winnable games down the stretch for Iowa. Now, Wisconsin always plays them tough, and that'll be a tough game because it's in the Big Ten you play for a trophy every other week, and they'll play for one there. Nebraska will be tough just because it's the last game of the year, and it'll be just a rivalry game. So their stretch down the finish line is very winnable. Again, I don't like Iowa's offense. I've said it all season long. I don't like their offense. Their defense is championship worthy. Their offense is not.
Yeah, they're ball hawks on defense. There's no doubt about that. Drew, I got to ask you a recruiting question since you just had that dude on. It just reminded me, man. I've been trying to ask you this for a few weeks now. There's a quarterback out of Brooke High School, man. He's putting up some killer numbers. Have you heard anything on the recruit trail about him?
No, but I know their team is really good. And they've got an unbeaten season going, and it's been exceptional. They did dodge a bullet, so to speak. They escaped against West Morgan. I think it was 22-21 on this past Friday. But yeah, they've got Newt Wood. He's been playing wide receiver, doing a heck of a job, and they've got a nice team from what I understand, and they really have had an underrated tradition since the days of Bob Godsey and all the Roaches and all the people, Freddie Roach going to Alabama. He had brothers that were on the team that were outstanding athletes that played college football. And so they've had a lot of good players come out of that program. They're having a great year, but I haven't heard any recruiting buzz. I'm sure, some schools like UNA, Jacksonville State, and people of that nature are going to start at least taking note of this kid and of their team because of their being unbeaten, and I got to give them a lot of credit for that. But appreciate the phone call, Spencer.
All right, that's hour one in the books. Hour two is going to get underway. We'll check in with Mike Leach, Nick Saban, Brian Harson, and more. Your fun awaits after this.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
But we have a truck leaving with a big order on Tuesday.
Tina's floor manager retired, leaving her tortilla factory flat out.
What do you mean she's on a silent retreat?
She must fill the role and all those orders.
I'll oversee production.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
And a couple of wrecks that we're clearing, northbound Jordan at Maston Lake and southbound 53 at Research Park. Both of those should be gone. I-65 northbound at 318, that's Lakon. They're taking all the traffic off there. Passenger vehicles can get back on at Falkville. Commercial vehicles have to come all the way up to 67 and go to Priceville. When you get there, you're going to find a tractor trailer on the southbound side of 67 right at I-65. Left lane's blocked up by that stall vehicle. They've got a wrecker on the way. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the heart doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Scattered showers, maybe a couple of isolated thunderstorms are going to be possible this afternoon. Otherwise, a partly sunny to mostly cloudy sky today. Highs climbing into the upper 70s and lower 80s, dropping into the mid-upper 60s as we head into the overnight. A mostly cloudy sky for your Wednesday. A couple of isolated showers are going to remain possible across the Tennessee Valley. Temperatures climbing into the lower 80s, falling back off into the mid-60s as we head into the overnight. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Simple Green is perfect for making your auto, RV, cycling, boating, and other sporting equipment look like new. Visit them at simplegreen.com.
Monday Night Football, the Colts at the Ravens. Indianapolis a 7-point road underdog, the over-under 46. Both teams are 2-2 on the season against the spread. Baseball, the NLDS continues with the Braves and Brewers tied at 1 game apiece. Each team minus 110 on the money line in Game 3, the over-under 8. Giants and Dodgers also tied at 1. LA minus 200 money line in Game 3. Giants plus 170, over-under 7. In the ALDS, the Astros lead 2-1 over the White Sox. A money line home underdog in Game 4, plus 240. Houston even. Rays and Red Sox at Pick'em, minus 111 money line in Game 4. Red Sox lead 2-1.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And just like that, hour 2 is off, and we are running here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Saturday, Alabama's going to travel to
Stark Vegas.
They're going to take on Mike Leach.
Yeah.
And Mike Leach, obviously, is always good for a comment or two is in regards to anything.
Yeah.
Yesterday, it was about playing Alabama and not relaxing against the Tide.
Well, if we relax against the University of Alabama, then we are the stupidest team in college football. You know, I mean, if we relax under those circumstances, we may have some very good qualities. You know, and we may have some very positive things and stuff like that. But you have to really be a dumb team to relax if you're playing Alabama or anybody like. Really, our schedule, if you relax to playing our schedule, period, I can't think anybody you can relax on, at least not around here or coming up, so.
That's how we kick off hour 2. Don't relax against anybody in the SEC, especially Alabama.
Well, I mean, you can't. I mean, certainly Alabama can't relax either. They can't feel sorry for themselves after dropping the game against Texas A&M in College Station. You got to go to Stark Vegas and take on Mississippi State, and our good friend Grady the Greek and his dad Hunter will be there in Starkville, and I've made that trip. It's a short one when you're talking about from Tuscaloosa.
Oh, it's a fun one.
Yeah, and so it's going to be a raucous atmosphere. I think they'll be even more excited now that they can smell blood in the water that Alabama dropped a game. So Alabama has to pay attention to detail, and I know Will Anderson spoke to the media yesterday, Scott. Alabama had their media day. We heard from Nick Saban, but Will Anderson was very emotional and wanting to right the ship for Alabama.
Here is Will Anderson.
The biggest thing is we got to bounce back. We got to regain focus, pay attention to little details, and we all got to come together and sit down, and we all have to get on the same page and realize that this is the most important thing right now. I think this morning with workouts, everybody came in with high intensity, we know that feeling now, and we have to move past that feeling and get ready for Mississippi State, and, everybody's holding their head up high. And we're just going to keep moving forward and keep getting better. I mean, what I've said to you guys, we have to do a better job. Football has to be the most important thing. That's the biggest thing when you come to Alabama. That's the standard. Football is the most important thing, and that's what I express to the team, and that's what it has to be, and it's going to be that.
Yeah, Will, I think you had sent pretty similar message after the Florida game about needing to make football important.
Most definitely.
The Alabama standard and all that. Just how do you think it was received that time around, and what was kind of lost there going into this game?
I don't think it was taken seriously. I mean, as you can see, after the Florida, which was a close game, we end up losing this game. So, I mean, I think together as a team, we really just have to focus. I think that's the biggest thing. I just feel like as if there's really nothing other teams are doing. I just think it's just us. We're in our own way right now.
Little Will Anderson.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he had a lot of valid points there. I think he's very passionate about wanting to get the ship righted, and they needed guys like him to step up. I know he's only a sophomore, but he's a great player, and he didn't have his best game. I think he had 5 or 6 tackles, and 1 pressure, but no sacks against Texas A&M, against that revamped offensive line. And I'm sure he wants to rectify that and wreak some havoc against Mississippi State. All
right, 256-576-4977. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. We want to hear from you on this Tuesday morning. There is a Twitter poll question up there. If you head to @977ESPN on Twitter, you can take part in that, or you can give us a call and just share us your thoughts as well. How do you see Alabama's season playing out now that you've had 48 hours to completely digest it all and now come with a clear head? Losing in the SEC title game, short in the semifinals, or winning a national title? Right now, 52% say losing in the title game, 36% say winning a national title. My bad. Losing, in the SEC title game, 36% say winning a national title. In college football, Drew, there are 13 unbeaten teams left in college football. Just 13. 2 of them reside in the SEC, and by obvious reasons, that number will be cut in half on Saturday as Kentucky and Georgia meet in Athens. The leader will take the inside track to the SEC East title. Does Kentucky stand a chance at all in pulling off this double-digit upset? Because, I mean, they're a double-digit dog going into Athens.
Oh, they're a 3-touchdown underdog. I think it's very slim. You always have a chance. I mean, nobody gave Texas A&M a chance against Alabama. If Georgia's sloppy with the ball, if they fumble it, throw picks, if Kentucky can, turn one of those into a scoop and score or an INT return for a TD, if they can jump on Georgia and get a lead, then certainly they have a chance. I just think it's a very small one. I don't think Georgia will hit the number. If they do, I think everybody may be in trouble. I do think Kentucky's defense is good enough to keep them in the game. But I'm more along the lines of a 28-17 type, win for Georgia. They are what they are offensively. To me, they're good for 28 to 31 points. I don't think they're going to be super explosive. Now, if Kentucky gets sloppy, Kentucky where they've gotten themselves in trouble, they've still been able to win games, but they haven't played anybody like Georgia. Is they have had a propensity to fumble and of course, or Levis throw an INT here or there and turn the ball over. If they turn the ball over against Georgia, they will get blown out. But if they protect the ball, they got a chance to stay in it, no doubt.
All right, let's go to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. B. Rich with us on a Tuesday. Good morning, B. Rich.
Good morning, fellas. How are y'all?
Good, Rich.
Doing good.
How are you?
I'm great. Hey, Drew, we're going to find out pretty quick this coming Saturday if that pass rush is improved. We all know that Mississippi State basically has a non-existent running game, but to combat that and keep teams off their quarterback, they usually try to do quick, short passes. They get the ball out quick. So pass rush is going to have to be much better than it was last weekend. Another thing is those defensive linemen going to have to get their hands up in the passing lane. So a lot of times, after you come after a loss, you want to see how the team responds. So this is a pretty perfect opponent for, us to find out if we're going to get back to work, if we're going to get more imaginative with the pass rush and things like that. So the one question I have for you, Drew, is just when we did one, and I want to see what you think as far as our ability to adjust this weekend, but last Saturday, when we did dial up some pressures, Drew, it wasn't very creative. I didn't see a lot of corner blitzes. I didn't see them bringing people from areas where they, surprise blitzes and things like that where, they're really well disguised. It just looked like linebackers running up in gaps, shooting, straight there. I mean, and for young offensive line like Texas A&M was, with all those freshmen and inexperienced, I mean, they didn't have any problems handling it. What's your thoughts as far as us getting a little more creative with our blitz packages?
Well, I certainly think that they need to try some different things from the blitz perspective. I didn't think that hardly any of them got home, but I think also when you go back and look at the game, Alabama was most effective when they went with a 3-man line and they dropped 8. And I think and that's how they were able to contain Texas A&M, and they started stopping the run because when they came out to start the game, they had 2 down linemen and 2 outside backers, and they couldn't stop the run. They were too light. and the pass rush wasn't there either. They had to go back to a more traditional front, and when they did, they were able to stop Texas A&M. Wes Neighbors, astutely pointed that out last night on the drive. So I think, first of all, it's a week-to-week thing. It's a matchup thing, because the thing is, I don't think Mississippi State is going to try to run the ball anyway. Mike Leach, they're going to be who they are. So Alabama is going to have to try to get there with some front pressure, probably with a 3-man rush, and win some one-on-one matchups. And then, like you said, BR, I think they're going to have to get more creative with their blitz packages. Certainly, I don't think we'll see Will Anderson drop in coverage as much. I think we'll see him trying to get after the QB this weekend. But certainly, and Dallas Turner was, a part of the lineup. Travis Reier made a great point on him. He thought Turner got most of the reps because he was a guy that was a bigger guy that would be more astute against the run. He did have 5 tackles, I think, including 1 for a loss, which is pretty good for a freshman who's never started before in an SEC environment. We'll see if we see more Chris Braswell this week. He's a little bit more of a pass rusher because they're going to have to get after Will Rogers, no doubt about it. But the big key for Alabama is they need to play the way they did against Ole Miss. They need to tackle well in space because, Mississippi State is going to challenge that. They are going to throw the ball in the flats. They're going to throw the screens. They're going to throw the ball over the middle of the field. So Alabama needs to get off the field and tackle well. And then they need to force a turnover or two. And then they need to just play smarter football because Malachi Moore getting ejected that early in the game in the first few snaps really set a bad tone for the rest of the night.
On a play he totally could have let up on. But I totally agree with you, Drew. And after hearing Will Anderson at that press conference, turn that monster loose. I mean, I know he's a little dinged up, but let that guy go get the quarterback and follow his lead. I'm with you, Drew. Appreciate it, fellas.
Appreciate the call.
Thanks, B. Rich. All right, Joey's with us as well this morning. Good morning, Joey.
Man, where's Kentucky going to get them 17 points you said they're going to put on us?
Well, I mean, I think that they'll have a chance to make a play or two. I mean, certainly Auburn scored 10, and they had some success early driving the ball. They dropped a touchdown on the first drive, and I didn't think that that Auburn would score a ton of points. I don't think Kentucky will score a ton either. 17 to me, especially in this day and time of college football, isn't a whole lot of points. But I think that, I do think you have to respect their running game some. And Auburn had some success initially, but then Georgia suffocated it out. I don't think Kentucky will have a lot. And I think Wan'Dale Robinson might be able to make a play or two. And I'm counting on maybe one of those touchdowns being, Joey, late in the game where Georgia's playing some backup kind of guys. If it's 28-10, 31-10, and Kirby's playing some younger guys, sometimes you get one of those late touchdowns in garbage time. So that's kind of the way I see it. But I do think Georgia's going to win the game and win it, decisively. Let's just put it that way. I'm giving Kentucky enough credit for being undefeated, but they're not gonna beat the Dogs in Athens, in my opinion.
Do you see it playing out?
Georgia, pardon me, Scott, unless Georgia helps Kentucky like Alabama helped Texas A&M. That's the only way I think it's even close.
You see it playing out more like they played against Auburn this past weekend? I mean, where Kentucky
Similarly,
comes out.
But I think Kentucky's better along the line of scrimmage than Auburn. So,
if you would have asked me at the beginning of the season what coach this year had a chance to beat Saban, I would have put my house on it that it would have been Kirby. I would have not put nothing on Jimbo Fisher. I was really shocked at that game. But another question, so what does Kirby do when Don Blaylock and Pickens gets better? Because these receivers out there right now, them boys are balling, and they're all freshmen and redshirt freshmen.
I mean, they'll play. I mean, they're too talented not to. I mean, Blaylock's had a lot of issues with his knees. You feel bad for that young man. I think he has talent. But certainly, Lad McConkey has taken full advantage of a chance to play. I mean, he's a former walk-on who earned a scholarship. He had a great game against Auburn. I think he had 135 yards receiving. So, I mean, and we've seen Jermaine Burton make plays as well. And then the tight ends are getting involved. I really like the Bowers kid. I think he's has a chance to be really good. I think he had 2 catches for 43 yards. So, and then Stetson Bennett was efficient like he needs to be. He didn't turn the ball over, because to me, when you have a defense like Georgia does, and it's the best in college football, if you don't turn it over and you play sound fundamental football and you run the ball, which, I mean, Georgia's running game, I don't think it was explosive and spectacular, but it was really good. I mean, they averaged 4 yards a carry, and they rushed for 200 yards on Auburn, and they control the clock. And so that's what Georgia's old school, man. I mean, their offense is still kind of caught in 2008, but they're playing great complementary football, and they're not making mistakes in the kicking game. So if you don't hurt yourself and you have a defense like Georgia does, which is the strength of their team, you're going to beat a lot of people.
Yeah, I was at that game on Saturday, and I think the best play I've seen him make as far as Stetson goes, I think it was like right before the half, and he was scrambling. And he almost pulled the trigger. I think it was 55 that got him, and he just took the sack. I was like, that's the best play you could have made, because I've seen him before where he tried to be Superman and, force the ball, and he's always, good for a turnover. But he's actually kind of been down on his turnovers this year.
Yeah, and that's the key. If that turnover column, if you don't turn it over, because see, even with Alabama, if they don't turn it over the 2 times they did against Texas A&M, they don't lose the game. They turned it over at the 1 yard line trying to go in to score. They run a poor route. They make a poor throw. It gets intercepted. It was a great play on the ball by Texas A&M by that young man, that safety, and then they also fumble it near midfield as they're driving. So turnovers is always what keeps teams in it. And if Georgia doesn't turn it over against Kentucky, then they're going to win, because they're just the better team. I mean, they're the better team on both lines of scrimmage. I think Kentucky can compete better than Auburn did, and that's why I expect it to be a little closer. But I still expect, a double-digit win for Georgia. I think being at home, I remember what happened in this game 2 or 3 years ago. I think that it was a battle of unbeatens or whatnot, and Kentucky got smashed in Lexington. So I think this team is better than that one, because I think they're a little bit better offensively, but it's still an offense that struggles to throw it consistently. And I think anytime you play Georgia, and if you're somewhat one-dimensional, I do think Kentucky may have some success at times running the ball, but it ain't going to last. And to me, if Georgia is not, sloppy, and if they play clean, they're going to win this game. They're going to win it comfortably. I just think overall that Joey, that 23-point spread or whatever it was 22. I think that's a little much. Now, they may go out and they may dominate Kentucky, but that just sort of surprised me a little bit. But I'm not expecting the game to go down to the last play. I just think Georgia will win, but I just don't know that they'll cover the number.
I don't know. They've been a covering machine so far. I think they're 5-1.
Yeah.
I know they laid 35 points against South Carolina, and they covered that in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm just interested to see how far Kentucky has come.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to say, well, when do we start taking Kentucky
Jeff's
seriously?
calling you out, man. Jeff's basically saying they're sneaking around the chicken coop and they're going to win.
When do we start taking Kentucky seriously? These are the games where you start to learn how far Kentucky has come.
Personally, I think it's going to be an ass whipping, and he's going to call in talking about basketball practice.
Oh, and that might be fine. I don't really like their defense this year, but I think they'll be fine. I think they'll still end up winning the West, and then you'll see what happens in Atlanta.
You talking about Alabama? You talking about Alabama coming back?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Alabama will be fine.
Well, I mean, the way the division's kind of opened up with LSU being bad and Texas A&M already blowing 2 games, and Auburn's already had a couple losses, they still have a golden opportunity. And then Ole Miss, I don't think they're through losing. I mean, they nearly lost to Arkansas. So, I mean,
103 points.
Yeah, and there's going to be a ton of points scored in Knoxville.
Yeah, I want to know.
You can't go to the bathroom.
Do you? Is this a no-brainer? Take the obvious or the over in
that
one.
Smokey Mike and I were talking about this. It went down to 79 yesterday. I don't know what's going on. I would have thought it was going up to 110. I mean,
you're talking about the Tennessee
Ole Miss game. Yeah.
Jesus, yeah, you have to take the over in that one.
I mean, if it's 79,
Tennessee's playing pretty good right now.
They've gotten better.
All right, Joey. Thanks for the call.
All right, brother. Y'all be good.
Yeah, that's the question. Do you take the over or do you take the under on Tennessee Ole Miss? We'll talk about that later in the week and as the week goes along. Let's get a break in, though, because, Josh Pate might be able to help us. I was wondering, would he take the over or would he take the under? And do you take Kentucky seriously?
I got to ask him what he thought of the Red River rivalry because he was there. Mercy.
I wonder if he had butter on a stick. We'll explain.
Oh, my goodness.
When we return.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
They got a wrecker on the scene for that stalled tractor trailer at Priceville, I-65 and Highway 67, and the left lane southbound blocked up there. That's part of the detour for the closing of I-65 northbound down at Lakon, so getting that one out of there is going to help out with that traffic flow. The Somnodent from Dr. Sandman's an easy-to-use oral device, no mask, no hose, and insurance accepted for sleep apnea and for snoring. RandallSandlin.com or 350 Care. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
If you need a car, Mercury Motors is ready to put you in a quality vehicle, and in-house financing is available. If you have a job, Mercury Motors will work with you even if you have a bankruptcy, divorce, or bad credit. Visit MercurySaysYes.com. Every car comes with a warranty, and they report to the credit bureau. With 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens, call 256-230-0232, or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville. Call 256-713-0575.
Everybody knows the fun begins when you get to the end zone, where you can enjoy half-price apps every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, half-price burgers every Tuesday, plus late-night pizza specials and a spectacular menu that includes jumbo wings, half-pound burgers, Tex-Mex, and an incredible selection of craft beer, and plenty of big-screen TVs. It's all happening at the end zone, 1851 University Drive, 2030 Cecil Ashburn at Jones Valley Station, and coming in early 2022, Mid-City End Zone at 1115 McMurtry next to the Target Shopping Center.
Take your taste buds back in time with a trip to the all-new Bubbies Diner, offering a variety of mouth-watering food from delicious starters to 50-style diner food and meat-and-three meals, featuring owner and Huntsville native Chris Bubby Belcher's family's homemade recipes. Open Monday through Saturday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at 8412 Whitesburg Drive in the former Gibson's Barbecue. Drive-in, drive-through, carry-out, or curbside pickup with delivery coming soon through Grub South. Bubbies Diner, home of the Donut Burger.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Have you ever found exactly the right new car or truck with the exact features that you want and nothing else? Well, at Woody Anderson Ford, we can promise you just that. Hey, Bobby White back again, and you can now factory order your new Ford today, and you'll get your new car or truck exactly the way you want it. And there's no extra cost to custom order. Plus, you get $1,000 off MSRP on top of any additional factory rebates. This applies to 2021 F-150, Explorer, Ranger, and Expedition. It's a win-win with a custom order at Woody Anderson Ford. You get the colors, the features, and the options that fit your life. Plus, you get notified when it's built, shipped, and ready to deliver. Listen, buying a new car or truck is likely the second largest investment you'll ever make. So why settle? Get exactly what you want with a custom factory order today. And get $1,000 off MSRP. See how at WoodyAndersonFord.com or at the corner of Jordan Lane and Sparkman Drive. Hope to see you soon.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Sitting here with Mark Kent of Southern Fidelity Mortgage Group of Huntsville. Mark, do you help pre-qualify people?
We pre-qualify people all the time, Wes. As a matter of fact, I love having them coming in here because when they come in and they pre-qualify, they can leave my office knowing exactly how much they can buy and have no worries.
Mark, tell me about your rates and pricing.
Well, Wes, this is something we're really, really proud of. Long story short is I love being able to provide the best pricing in town. Honestly, I cannot tell you the last time I lost a deal to either rate or pricing, something I'm very proud of.
So what all financing options do you have, Mark?
We do several different things. If you're purchasing a home, we can handle the purchase. If you're wanting to refinance your home, of course, rates are at the lowest they've been in the last 3 years. We do a lot of refinancing. If you're building a home, we can handle the entire process from breaking ground to the final close.
Do you sleep with your phone?
Wes, if you want to reach me, you can call me at my office phone, which is 256-562-1000. But always remember, I sleep with my cell phone at night. That number is 256-656-5936.
Bob Baumhauer and 97.7 ESPN The Zone have teamed up to bring you a huge opportunity this fall. Each week, come on down to Baumhauer's during the drive on Thursdays between 5 and 7 and register to win a Lunch Bunch gift certificate for 6 to Baumhauer's. But wait, there's more. Each weekly winner will then be placed into a drawing for Bob's tickets to the LSU-Alabama game in Tuscaloosa, complete with an invitation to Bob's exclusive pregame party at Baumhauer's tent on the quad. Stay tuned to 97.7 ESPN The Zone for other opportunities to sign up and win Bob's tickets.
Listen to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Weekday afternoons starting at 5 on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Coming up next, it's the Tom Abraham Show with me, Tom Abraham. Now back to more Talkin Ball with Scott and Drew.
You got to wait a little bit to get the Tom Abraham Show. He'll be on from 10 to 12 today. Tom Abraham, but Talking Ball with you, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, 70 degrees today, right now here in the Tennessee Valley, and the temperature in Dallas this past weekend was a little warm because, I mean, what a football game between Oklahoma and Texas. That is coming. The whole Red River showdown, shootout, whatever you want to call it, it's coming to the SEC. That excitement, that pageantry, the whole state fair scene, everything, that is coming to the SEC eventually. Maybe next year, the year after, we don't know, but it is for sure coming, along with the good fried food that you can have at the state fair.
Well, National Director of Video for 24/7 Sports and, of course, part of CBS Sports headquarters as well. He has 2 outstanding programs, his daily one, the host of the Late Kick Live, and then his Late Kick podcast, and that is Josh Payton. He's off of a trip to the Red River Shootout, and he's with us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. How was the Red River Shootout, Josh, in person?
Well, it was the best regular season game I've ever seen, but I do want to bookmark it for just a second. I tried to run a little reconnaissance mission this morning. Now, in reality, we all know I love both of you guys, but I just wanted to see what happened if when the call screener calls me and says, "Are you ready to come on?" And I said, "No, I don't feel like talking to them." I just wanted to see what would happen. And it turns out you don't have an option. They say, "Oh, that sounds terrible. All right, I'll patch you through anyway." And so here I am.
Well, he looked at us and told us that. He was like, "Hey, Josh said he doesn't want to come on." Yeah, I was like, "What the hell? I didn't do anything. I don't think." I mean,
but hey, I got to ask you though too. But before we delve into all this conversation, what is this thing with you and College Game Day?
Okay, well, as you know, I don't have a marketing budget, so some of us have to get our marketing the old-fashioned way, organically. And so I noticed a couple of weeks ago, well, at the beginning of the season, I noticed our audience is big enough. We've got representation across the country. A lot of these folks go to College Game Day. What if we had late kick signs in the background? It was innocent enough, right? So I put out the call, and we had several of them in week 1. So then I said, I'm going to get what I call a chalice of supremacy made, but there are multiple, so I call them chalice of supremacy. And it's this little gold vase or vase, if you're from north of Alabama, with our logo on it. And I said, if you get us on national TV, I'm sending you one of these. And so our folks took it very, very literally. And so by week 4, when they were in Athens for game day, our people flooded the background to the point where the producers of game day had to become militant, and they had to go out and take all the folks' signs and put them in a little sign jail over there.
Oh,
and
my
then
goodness.
I got emails saying, they're taking our signs, they're taking our signs. And then some of our folks snuck signs in and got them on game day anyway. So anyway, look, I know a couple of the guys who work for game day, so I went on the show and I said, look, I'm not a savage, okay? Reasonable minds can prevail here. I'll issue a truce if you accept it. Well, the game day folks got a little snobby, and they didn't want to accept it. So Kirk had to come forward, Herb Street had to come forward for the entire operation there and say, hey, we love the show. Nothing but love for you, man. We appreciate what you're doing. Basically, please don't do this anymore. And so I agreed not to do it anymore. So I issued the ceasefire, and here we are. As of this morning, ESPN and I are on workable terms.
Oh, nice. Making some waves there, Josh Pate in 24/7 Sports. Well, after seeing them live, is Oklahoma a college football playoff worthy team? What are your thoughts?
I think that they will be a playoff-worthy team. They're not at the moment because we haven't seen what the aftermath is. But if you go back and you kind of review in your head what we saw and then compare it to seasons you've seen before, you know that we've seen teams make the playoff before that looked bad at the beginning of the year. And then there was some moment that happened, the switch-flipping moment, if you will. This, if Oklahoma has one of those moments, was that moment. And so, like, imagine being on that team and imagine witnessing quarterback change and then the game change as the quarterback change happens. And let me tell you something. Like, you guys know I love a pro wrestling metaphor whenever I can fit it in. I've never seen anything quite like that. I was on Oklahoma's sideline, and I was watching when Caleb Williams goes in and the Spencer Rattler booing and the vitriol that was being hurled his way before Caleb Williams went in. It was like being at a pro wrestling event, and you got the good guy and you got the bad guy, and everyone in the crowd knows who they're supposed to cheer and who they're supposed to boo. But the fact of the matter is, this is not pro wrestling. It's a college football game. Oh, and by the way, those guys are allegedly on the same team. And yet one of them is hated, for lack of a better term, and I'm just calling it like it is, and the other one is adored. And the difference here from all the times in the past where crowds have wanted the backup quarterback to go in is they were actually right. The backup quarterback is the guy for the job. He certainly was Saturday because there's no prayer that they're coming back from a hole that Spencer Rattler partially helped to dig them into. And so, man, to see the body language on that sideline and to see how differently that team responded to Caleb Williams, I know Riley had his press conference yesterday, and they said, who's starting at quarterback for TCU? They probably laughed when they asked the question. He said, well, we haven't announced anyone yet. I would love to see him put anyone other than Caleb Williams on the field Saturday. You cannot even imagine what the reaction would be if Spencer Rattler were to take the field and take a starting snap for Oklahoma. It would be ugly, and I'm not necessarily in favor of booing college kids, but it would be warranted at that point because that would be a borderline dereliction of duty on Lincoln Riley's part. It was that impactful to witness.
And it's an interesting time in college football, too, because Spencer Rattler is one of those guys that has a lot of money and name, image, and likeness, and it kind of opens him up a little bit more to the fans booing him or judging him on his play.
Yep, and I think this is a rocky kind of trial period that is the same way as I thought it would happen. I didn't know exactly how it would happen, but with the NIL stuff, you remember when we were over in the summer and we were talking about this on this show, and I said, this will work itself out, but it's not going to be without some hiccups along the way. And this is one of the hiccups. This is what people in the future will observe, kind of like the transfer portal. I think the transfer portal will work itself out. But in order to do that, you've got to have some kids get hung out to dry and go into the portal ill-advised and then don't have a landing spot. You have to have that period so that the future classes can watch it and learn from it. Well, right now, I think players, parents, brands, they're out there, companies, they are watching this and they're learning from it. And so right now, you've got everything from guys with full endorsement deals that now aren't starters anymore to you've got guys who are out with season-ending injuries or who have been benched who still have prepaid for media spots to fulfill every week. And it's just, it's uncomfortable in some cases. It's a mess. It's a horrible return on investment in other cases. So, yeah, it's a learning period. And as soon as this time next year, you will see a shift in strategy. And then 2 or 3 years from now, I don't even think we'll really talk about it all that much anymore. It'll still be happening, but it will have calibrated itself, and it'll just be part of the normal fabric of the game.
We're talking to Josh Pate, 24/7 Sports. Now the collateral damage or the fallout, Alabama getting shocked on the road at Texas A&M. I know you have your ear to the ground as well as anyone. What do you think we're going to see from Alabama going to Starkville and then going forward after they drop a game many people didn't see coming because of the injury to the quarterback. Zach Calzada struggling, and then of course dropping those 2 in a row. But A&M finally putting it all together.
Yeah, it strikes me. I won't say concerning. I'll say odd. It strikes me as odd that a true sophomore is the voice of that locker room right now, and Will Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
That strikes me as odd because it should be guys that are a little bit more elderly than him who are at the forefront. And I'm not saying they're not internally. I'm saying from what we get to see, it feels like there aren't enough guys in there that share the sentiment Will Anderson does. That's the way I'll put it. And I think that Nick Saban has long since observed that, and that's why he has spoken with trepidation even when everyone else has heaped praise on his team, because he gets to see the angles we don't, and he's smarter than we are to begin with about football. Well, now the loss has happened. So now the margin for error is gone. And now the wake-up call for those that are willing to accept it has been dealt. I think we're going to learn a lot about that team this weekend. But then I think we're going to learn a lot more about the coaching staff over the bye week. Because that bye week, which I believe comes after Mississippi State, is going to be where if they are willing to get some of the younger receivers on the field or younger DBs, or if J.C. Latham, which I don't know about the latter statement here, but if an offensive lineman, if they're able to make a move at right tackle, I think that's when they'll try and do it. They'll get through Mississippi State and then try and implement any longer-term changes during that bye week. So over the next 2 weeks, you'll learn about the mental makeup of that team this weekend, I believe. And then you'll learn a lot more about where that coaching staff is willing to go over the bye week. But there is some soul searching to be done. I have not sold a whole lot of Alabama stock. That team can still absolutely win a national title. The problem with Bama, as I've observed and talked about a number of times, is when they lose a game or when they even struggle like they did in the Florida game, but they win, people do not judge them properly. They look at Bama and they judge them against past Alabama teams. Well, they're not playing past Bama teams. They're playing in any given season. And right now, if you want to judge Bama, judge them against Georgia or Ohio State. I know people think Georgia's invincible right now. They're not. They are not invincible. Nobody is. There is no unbeatable team in the country this year. There are undefeated teams. There are no unbeatable teams. And so they got it to do. They got to regroup. But, unless you tell me they're going to throw picks in the end zone and turn the ball over and drop passes to that degree every week, then I think they still got a shot to win a national championship this year.
And you bring up Georgia not being invincible. They have Kentucky this weekend. Does Kentucky stand a chance in hell in beating Georgia on the road in Athens?
No, I don't think they do. I had the option to go to the game, and I chose Ole Miss, Tennessee, if that tells you anything about my expectations. But let me say this now. Okay, so here's a pro-Kentucky statement. I also was credentialed to go to A&M Bama after Red River. I could have made it down there. And I was on a plane watching that upset happen. So it's not like just because I say it, it's not going to come to fruition. But I don't have any clue, short of like -4 turnovers or something like that, I don't have any clue how the formula would come together. Now, what I am excited to see, at the very least, is I'm excited to see Will Levis and whether they can have any success throwing the ball, because I don't think Kentucky's going to beat Georgia, even if they do. But what I do think we could theoretically come from that game seeing is Kentucky do something in a loss that somebody else down the road with a stronger roster may be able to duplicate in a more winning effort. And so, like we've seen that in the past with several teams. Maybe your pass rush isn't up to par, and you win a game, but you don't affect the quarterback to the degree you need to. Well, if I know you're playing a team that's 3 touchdowns better than your opposition that day down the road, I'm going to file that away. So can Kentucky have any passing success against them? That would be that's my biggest point of interest in that game.
Well, and Josh, now you are going to Knoxville, Tennessee. What is the over-under? I was shocked yesterday in some places where it went down to 79. I thought it might get up to 110, 120.
We just said this out loud. Down to 79. That's where we are in this day and age. That total has dropped into the upper 70s. For shame. I'm really interested in this. Tennessee has scored 83 in just the first half the last 2 weeks.
Right.
So they've gotten off a very fast start, and I equated it the other night. I didn't even realize I had said it. So most of the good things I say are by accident, of course, and I kind of equated Josh Heupel to showing up, and he's not the tentative guy. He's not the guy who shows up and wants to hang out in the corner and feel the room out. He walked straight into the pool, and he said, "Cannonball," and he just jumps in. They have not taken any kind of feeling in period there, for better or for worse, and that's exactly what they should have done, and that's what they were hired to do. And they're just figuring. They jumped out of the plane, and they're building their parachute on the way down. That's kind of the way they're operating there. And I don't know if you guys remember, but did you know Lane Kiffin coached at Tennessee once upon a time? Have you guys heard that?
Maybe a few times, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. So turns out he hasn't been back there since then, and this is it. This is the return. Now, when I chose to go to this game, I was just doing it for football reasons. To be honest, I may have been the one person that had forgotten, this is Lane's first return to Knoxville. But we also have that little cherry on top of what should be a wild game. So I'm looking forward to that, because if Tennessee wins that game, they're 5-2. And all of a sudden, what I start to do is I start to say, okay, well, good. I don't think they're going to beat Bama, but Bama's got to deal with that passing game. Georgia down the road, they're going to have to deal with that passing game. But what I'll really be interested in watching is Tennessee's going to play Kentucky in about 2 or 3 weeks. And that game could be for third place in the East. And if you tell Tennessee fans they got a shot at finishing third in the East at the beginning of the year, I don't know how much of their property they'd sell in exchange for that, but it would be a lot.
Yeah, it certainly would.
Well, Josh, you look at college football as a whole, and you said that there's good teams who now then, we're just over that halfway point. Who do you like then going forward the rest of the way that has a chance to make some big noise down the stretch that could get into the playoffs?
I wonder about Penn State right now. They are very, very hobbled coming out of that Iowa game. They got a bye week, perfect time. I was talking to some folks around the program, and they have not lost confidence in their ability. I am a believer that they were about to pull away from Iowa if Sean Clifford stayed in that game. And if you just change nothing else but that, if you just keep their quarterback healthy that last game, think about how we're talking about Iowa right now. Or Penn State. They'd be the number 2 team in the country. They would have had a convincing road win in a place that's hard to play, and they would have a bye week now. And then they'd have, I think they play Illinois, but they'd have that Ohio State game looming. Well, nothing's changed. They got one. They're kind of like Bama. They got one loss, but everything's in front of them still. And they've got a trip to Ohio State coming up. The question is, how healthy are they going to get? And that includes quarterback. And I think he will be able to play down the road. But I think Penn State bears very close watching, like we already talked about. I think Oklahoma bears very close watching. I also, I think Ohio State, since we're talking about the Buckeyes there for a second, I think they're kind of like Oklahoma. They may be flipping a switch right now. The difference with them is they're getting fat on inferior competition, so it's really hard to know. But I'll tell you the other thing, and I cannot believe I was doing this yesterday, but I was actually applying for credentials for us for a game at Michigan State in late October.
Uh-oh.
Because if they win Saturday, now this is you want an off-the-radar game for those of us in the South. Michigan State goes to Indiana Saturday. Michigan State's undefeated. Indiana is coming off a bye. The line is 3.5. And if Michigan State can win that game, you are looking at a virtual certainty that you're going to have undefeated Michigan, undefeated Iowa State, or undefeated Michigan State in a couple of weeks. And that's a game that I would want to be at. And again, I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would be dreaming to see Jim Harbaugh, Mel Tucker in late October. But it is a Renaissance season for a reason. That's where we are.
It really is. And you will be on the road to a fun one in Knoxville, Tennessee. I was there in 2014 when Lane came back as an assistant for the first time as offensive coordinator at Alabama. They scored on the first play to Amari Cooper and went on to pound the Tennessee Volunteers. So we'll see what happens as he returns as a head coach with Ole Miss. Enjoy it. Have a great time, and we'll be talking with you again soon. Connect with him at Late Kick Josh. Outstanding coverage of college football. We always appreciate the conversation, sir.
I will not lie to the call screener anymore. I will just be genuine. I love coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Josh.
Appreciate it.
See you guys.
All right, Josh Pate with us, 24/7 Sports. Good stuff there. We got to get a break. Tomorrow's headlines today when we come back on this Tuesday edition of Talkin Ball.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
They should have that stall tractor trailer out of there at 67 and I-65 in Priceville that had the left southbound lane blocked up. Everything else looking pretty good. Don't forget you are in a detour situation. I-65, they're taking all the northbound traffic off at Lakon. They put you over onto 31. Passenger vehicles can come back over at Falkville, but commercial vehicles have to come all the way up to 67 and come over to Priceville. You get 3 pieces of the crispy tender chicken and a buttermilk biscuit for $4.99 at Popeyes. University and Jordan, 72 in Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Tired of the same old menu options everywhere you go? Then you need to try Metro Diner in Huntsville and Madison. The award-winning Metro Diner serves up signature dishes like their Charleston shrimp and grits, famous fried chicken and waffles with strawberry butter, and lots more. Their entire menu is available anytime, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And stop by for brunch on Saturday or Sunday and enjoy the lowest price mimosas in town. Airport Road, Huntsville, and Highway 72 in Madison. In diner or at home, make it Metro Diner.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, then get ready to pay up. The IRS has giant private collection agencies actively tracking down folks who owe the IRS. So if you think dodging them was stressful in the past, it's going to get a whole lot tougher. Optima Tax Relief has this advice. Don't wait. Solve your tax problems now before it's too late. Optima Tax Relief works to stop the demand letters, stop the aggressive collection actions, and stop the IRS collectors from targeting you. Ask Optima about the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands, and nobody knows this program better than they do. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, and they get results, having resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Get a fresh start. Call today for your free consultation.
Call 800-386-9945. 800-386-9945. 800-386-9945.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You know that there are some words that have really messed up our world. The devil, way back in Genesis, said, has God really said? Unfortunately, we often listen to those words of the devil. We question God's word. We often doubt God's goodness, and we make a mess for ourselves and so many others. Hey, let's honor the word of God for what it is. It is God's word. Let's follow it and be blessed by it. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison, and check us out at cpcfamily.org.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet & Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushy. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet & Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet & Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
Brooks & Collier has always been about making the most of your outdoors. Our lush greenhouse and new furniture ideas will inspire you, but we're also about value. Our brands are so handsome, they'll make themselves comfortable inside or out, and so well made, they'll weather the weather for many years to come. Our staff can consult you on the right choices, and Lucy for sure can show us the sofa that's the most comfortable. Make the most of your outdoors. Meridian Street and at brooksandcollier.com.
We know it's lonely at the top, but we don't mind.
National championship number 18. 13 in all. Absolute perfection.
Roll Tide. Join us Saturday as the Crimson Tide head to Starkville for a showdown with Mississippi State. Our coverage begins at 3 on your home for Bama football.
Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama, located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, it's time for us to turn to our tomorrow's headlines today. It's Tuesday, and we've not had him in studio for a couple weeks. He has
busy.
been busy, but Jordy is back with us in studio today. for our tomorrow's headlines today.
It's good to be back, guys. So Trayvon Diggs, former Alabama cornerback and now Dallas Cowboys cornerback, he's been making a lot of headlines. He's basically shutting all the receivers down in the NFL right now. And I've seen all the memes of Diggs Island and everything. But anyway, he had come out and he had said that, when Nick Saban actually made the switch from wide receiver to cornerback, he said he was on the brink of tears. And he wanted to come out and actually thank Nick Saban for that move. Obviously, he's not going to be crying anytime soon because Nick has made him a really rich man here in the future and obviously changed the trajectory of his entire career. But it was just really cool seeing him coming out and saying that, yeah, he was on the brink of tears when he got that news that he had to make that switch.
Yeah, Trayvon Diggs. You remember that when he made that switch?
Yeah. I mean, he was a wide receiver at first, scored a couple touchdowns, and they moved him to corner. And, I don't think he was thrilled with it at first, but certainly it was the right move. And, I know people get irritated with sometimes I hear people complaining and even see the posts on social media when they'll say, well, if the Alabama DB just turned his head, and I understand that, then he wouldn't have got the interference call. But look, Nick Saban knows how to teach DBs. He's developed Trayvon Diggs. Diggs is turning into the best corner in the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys have gone from somebody that couldn't stop running water to hiring Dan Quinn, who's not a head coach. He's proven that beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt with the biggest choke in Super Bowl history. But the one thing he is he's a great defensive coordinator.
Right.
He built the Legion of Boom in Seattle, and now the Cowboys look like a totally different group. It was a great hire, by the Cowboys organization, no doubt about it. And Trayvon Diggs has become a huge part of their defense.
And you can kind of see some of the receiving skills coming into play on some of those interceptions.
Oh yeah, the one this past Sunday, absolutely.
Exactly.
All right, what else we got?
All right, so I hate to be the bearer of bad news, guys, but we're already halfway into the football season. Can you believe that?
It goes by quick.
Yeah. So, but around the corner we have a little basketball.
Except for Vanderbilt, they're just buying time. But they're not the worst team though in college. I'm not distracting you, but they're not the worst team in college football. I will say that UConn has taken that. UMass beat them, I believe, this past weekend.
Well, Vandy also beat them in the last play of the game. But yeah.
So
very, very bad team. So basketball's around the corner.
Thank God for UConn. That's what they're talking about.
So ESPN they released their way too early top 25 rankings for the college basketball season, and everybody's obviously wondering where Alabama's going to land after that magic carpet ride of a season last year, and they landed at number 16. So it'd be real interesting to see if Nate Oates and them can continue that upward trajectory or if they can at least sustain that number 16 ranking.
Yeah, they play as difficult and out-of-conference schedule as anyone. They play 3 of the Final 4. They play Houston in Tuscaloosa. They play Gonzaga in December in Seattle on a quote-unquote neutral floor, even though it'll be a pro-Gonzaga crowd. And Gonzaga is probably going to be number 1 in the country. No doubt about that. They play Baylor in the ACC or the SEC Big 12 Challenge, and then Baylor is a really good basketball team still under Scott Drew. So they're playing a very difficult out-of-league schedule. Nate Oates isn't dodging anyone. So if they get off to a little bit of a slow start as they're trying to get the chemistry right, let's not fire everybody like Alabama's fired both the coordinators. After the Texas A&M game, a lot of fans getting on the coordinators really hard. But again, I do think they got a chance to have a really good team. I'm anxious to see J.D. Davidson. I'm anxious to see Javon Quinterly having the growth he's made. Also, guys like Keon Ellis. We had a chance to speak to Nate Oates last week as he kind of gave an overview of practice. But looking forward to that, to Alabama. And they got an exhibition game coming up in a couple of weeks against Louisiana.
And Gonzaga's actually ranked number 1 on that list. So no one's surprised.
No. They got Chet Holmgren in there, number 1 player in America, 7'3". They've got Drew Timme back. They've got a lot of that group. They did lose some really good players off that national championship game squad that only lost 1 game all year, which was the final one to Baylor. But still, they're a very, very good team, no doubt about it.
I just pulled up real fast. I was curious. I just pulled up the CBS power rankings for all 130 college football teams. We're right. Connecticut is ranked a number 130. Vanderbilt, by the way, 114. So,
Haven't
are
scored
looking
a
up.
point in the SEC. I know that. The next one they score, that'll be a victory.
Yeah, but Kansas is 121.
Yeah, they're looking forward to hoops too. If the FBI doesn't ruin it. But
FBI's not going to do anything.
Yeah, well, they probably
Will
not.
Wade's still employed.
Oh, my good Lord. And they got another 5-star committed the other day. I was like, how much NIL money did he get? I mean, he's probably got his own car and house. I mean, good Lord.
Oh, boy. Jordy, got any more? If not, we've got some here for you. Major League Baseball from yesterday. We did
The
not get to
Braves.
the Atlanta Braves. They get a win last night, 3-0.
It's Jocktober.
How about Jock Peterson? A little bit there. The Atlanta Braves have scored 7 runs in this series. Jock Peterson has accounted for 4 of them, and they've both been pinch hit home runs.
Yesterday was huge. I mean, it was the difference in the game, and he had a huge impact. He's always loved the lights and loved the postseason, and so he hasn't been starting, but he's been clutch off the bench. And Jock Peterson, Coach or Brian Snicker said yesterday he felt good about Jock, and certainly he came in at a big – and, I mean, they took Ian Anderson out. It was interesting. He had 5 shutout innings and gotten out of a huge jam, second and third, nobody out, and didn't give up anything. 2 really good defensive plays behind him. But, he comes in there, gets that big 3-run bomb, and the bullpen holds up. And now today they have a chance at 4 o'clock. You'll hear that game here on No Drive tonight. It'll be the Braves at 4:15 Central Time.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for our Tuesday edition of Talking Ball. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Don't forget Grady the Greek. He called in a day early. He woke up. Literally, I think he woke up just to call in because he sounded like he was half asleep. Alabama gets the win 40-20 over Mississippi State from Grady the Greek. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Don't forget WZZN.halfoffdeal.com. $50 worth of food to Metro Diner, and you can get a round of golf for 2 with a cart. $55 to Gunner's Landing. WZZN.halfoffdeal.com.
How about those Red Sox?
Bye-bye.